I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is Monday, September 16th, 2013. We're here for the regularly scheduled meeting of the Elmhurst City Council. I would ask that you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Spencer, could you please call the roll?
Kudenkoff. Here. Deuter.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
Leader.
Here.
Polumsky.
Here.
Graham.
Here.
Hipskin.
Here.
York.
Here.
Levin.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Honquist.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Mulliner.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
14 present, 0 absent.
14 present, 0 absent. We certainly have a quorum. We have a couple of things before we get started with our normal procedure tonight. On to agenda item number 3, Elmhurst Cycling Classic Recognition. And I'm going to come over. Oh, the podium's over there. Well, we'll do it over there. I'd ask Tim Radcliffe and whoever from his crew he wants to have join me, along with Alderman York. Okay, does this turn? Screw this up. Give the audience a chance to see. Okay. Sounds like it's on. We're going to do just a quick recognition. I think most of you are aware that we had a bike race in town. What was the date, Tim? July 19th. And we just wanted to recognize some of the folks that were involved in it and kind of celebrate a little bit of the success. I personally had the opportunity to attend, and it was absolutely fantastic when Alderman York and Tim Radcliffe approached me about working on this bike race. I kind of said, okay, it's a bike race, great, just move on, let's go. I'm sure the town will love it. And then when you actually go to the event, and you see the unbelievable amount of work that's involved in this. It was a criterium, which is a whole other set of rules that you have to learn. But it was absolutely fantastic. We had some terrific sponsors that helped us get this off the ground. And it really was a terrific showcase for Elmhurst. And it was so great that everybody was there who was watching it said, I hope we get to do this next year, and we got to tell everybody. So it was really terrific. I appreciate, and we as a city truly appreciate the hard work, Tim, that you and your group did. And I'm going to turn it over to Kevin York real quick for some introductions.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to make this brief and then turn it right over to Tim and the club. But for a couple of years, Bob Hole, who's the chairman of the Bike Task Force, and he's biking somewhere in the south of France as we speak, and couldn't be here tonight. But we did interview quite a few promoters for a racing event, and weren't impressed with any of them. And then we did have the good fortune of knowing Tim and getting hooked up with the right people to do this. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of hard work on everybody's part, but it was a lot of fun and a really cool thing to organize and be a part of here in Elmhurst. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tim to take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll try and move quickly. I know you have a full agenda. Again, my name is Tim Radcliffe. I'm the current president of Elmhurst Masters Competition Cycling. Essentially, we are a Masters bike racing team. What that means is we're experienced, hence the name Masters, and really we're older. We're not going to the Tour de France anytime soon. We have about 30 members on our team, and we race throughout the Midwest. Every time we go to another city, another venue, we are the beneficiary of everybody else's hard work. The cities, the elected officials, the police and fire that put on these events. And since we've grown to be a little bit more than 30 members, we wanted to give back to the cycling community and also give back to Elmhurst. After connecting, as Kevin York said, between him and Bob Hole, we realized we have something special that we can put on, and the inaugural Elmhurst Cycling Classic was born. We worked with Mark Colbert of the Prairie State Cycling Series to put on the event. The Prairie State Cycling Series is an 8-day race series, of which Elmhurst is 1 day. So it's like a mini Tour de France that's coming through our town of Elmhurst. So tonight, we have two objectives. One is to thank our key sponsors and constituents, the stakeholders who helped make this happen. And secondly, we're pleased to report net proceeds of over $11,000 to be made to charitable donations in the region as a result of this race. Now note that the sponsor list is very, very long. We issued tonight a press release listing everybody, so if you were to check our website at elmhurstmasters.com or hopefully look for your local news source, you'll see the many, many individuals, businesses, and organizations that were involved. And it wasn't just businesses. There were many businesses that were helpful, but I see some folks from Spirito. I can't say how many races we've gone to where there's been a national anthem. Well, Spirito singers of Elmhurst in the western suburbs sang the national anthem for the pro men and women's race. It was truly a spectacular way to start off the event. So before I do a couple, just a few thank yous, I'd like to introduce Mark Colbert from the Prairie State Cycling Series. He was critical in working with the city to get us to be part of their 8-day stage.
Thanks, Tim. I'm Mark Colbert. I'm the race director of Prairie State Cycling Series. We were the organizer of this 8-day event. I'd like to thank the city of Elmhurst. I'd like to thank the city services, the fire department, the police department. I'd like to thank Elmhurst College for the really terrific cooperation and really the joyful way that everyone came together and had a really terrific event for the city. We were very pleased with this venue. It was our best, most well-organized new venue in 2013. We look forward to coming back. We hope to expand a little bit. We probably will have between 8 and 10 venues, consecutive venues next year. And it's just terrific being in Elmhurst, and I want to thank you very much for your help.
Okay, four folks we'd like to recognize. We're going to start with Elmhurst College. Bruce and Desiree would like to come up. The race course is a 1.2-mile loop that goes around Elmhurst College, so we could absolutely not have done it without you. I think Jim Landenberger has a check that we're going to donate to Elmhurst College for $2,500 to be used towards a scholarship. And thank you so much for your cooperation. Elmhurst College is a beautiful venue, a great asset to this city, and couldn't have been a more perfect setting for the bike race. So thank you very, very much for your involvement. Next, Superior Ambulance. Carl Kester, Kim Godden, and Dave Hill, thank you so much. Superior Ambulance was our title sponsor. And so this evening we wanted to present a photograph to commemorate the event. Folks, we couldn't have done this race without the organization between the city's police and fire departments and Superior. The day was 108-degree heat index. We needed these guys like we needed the city's officials. So thank you so much for your involvement. Your sponsorship as a title sponsor helped make these charitable donations possible. Thank you so much. Diane McGinnis there. Elmhurst Memorial Healthcare. Elmhurst Memorial Healthcare was our presenting sponsor, so another critical role in this bike race. Jim Landenberger of my team would like to present you with a photo commemorating the event, but also a check to the Elmhurst Memorial Healthcare Foundation for $1,500. Thank you so much for being involved. Unfortunately, we did need you guys 4 times that day, I think. Wasn't that correct, Chief? Between accidents and the heat. So thank you. You got to showcase your expertise in your beautiful hospital, too. So thank you so much for your involvement. And last but not least, the city of Elmhurst, and I include with that the police department and the fire department. I told anybody who would listen when I started this project with Kevin and Mayor Morley that we're going to make mistakes. This is our first year doing it. And I relied extremely heavily on the city's guidance, the police department, and the fire department. And so this evening we're proud, first of all, to say thank you very much. We have a photograph that, again, we'd like to give to the city in acknowledging the wonderful event and an exciting finish of the final race of the day. But also, we have 2 checks in the amount of $750 each to the Elmhurst Police Benevolent Athletic Association. Hopefully I said that correctly. And on behalf of the fire, and this is Jostein Alvestead, by the way, I'm sorry, a team member of mine and Elmhurst Fire Department member, and also to the Muscular Dystrophy Association, for which the fire department works very closely. So thank you guys very, very much. And did Muscular Dystrophy, you guys want to say something real quick? Go ahead.
Just want to take a quick second and say thank you to the Elmhurst Fire Department. With the addition of this check, they've raised $9,962.34 for the Fill the Boot program, which goes to help local families here living with muscle disease. We thank the firefighters for their dedication and help with this program again this year.
There's a number of other charities that we're going to be cutting checks to. The total amount that we were able to raise with the help of our sponsors and our constituents was $11,250 to Elmhurst charities and organizations. So to everybody involved, to the city, thank you for this time tonight. Thank you for letting us host this wonderful event, and we look forward to working on a successful 2014 event. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, thanks again, Mr. Radcliffe, for all of your hard work. Nice job. Let people file out. We're on to agenda item number 3.2, and it's an update from the RJN Group about the Southwest Elmhurst Wet Weather Facility. Mr. Kopp, does this need any setup? Coming up a little bit.
Thank you. Tonight with us is Al Hollenbeck from the RJN Group. Mr. Hollenbeck has been working with the city for a number of years now on issues that have been experienced in major rain events. The Public Works Committee has been working very diligently on this issue. I think all the council members are familiar with it. We've asked Mr. Hollenbeck to come and give a brief version of what he gave to the Public Works Committee as a presentation and an update for the council tonight. With that, Mr. Hollenbeck.
Thank you, Jim. I promise to be brief. The Southwest Elmhurst Wet Weather Control Facility is really the first and most important component of addressing the sanitary sewer backups that occurred after the July 2010 storm. And I want to just brief you on what the status of the project is, what the pieces are, and the upcoming schedule for construction. We are done studying, and we are ready to build. The first piece of the project is a major upgrade to the existing lift station. The second piece is the replacement of the dry weather force main that pumps wastewater under a coarse dry flow up to McKinley Avenue. The third piece is an expansion of the existing gravity sewer that flows into the lift station. The fourth piece is an entirely new wet weather force main that will pump wet weather flow after a major storm event to the fifth piece of the project, which is a storage tank on the south end of the existing treatment plant property. Just a quick history lesson here. This project is designed to significantly reduce the sewer backups in the Saylor and Jackson lift station area, the area we've called Basin 24 now for a couple of years. In addition to that area tributary to the Saylor and Jackson pump station, the project will reduce frequency of backups north of there, near McKinley Avenue. Remember that these two areas accounted for 78% of the reported backups after the July 2010 storm. Obviously, the vast majority of sanitary sewer backups that occurred after that storm. We're going to provide 2.2 million gallons of storage in a new wet weather storage tank, coupled with the new force mains, a larger wet well, and a larger relief sewer. That 2.2 million gallons is a huge component of getting this wet weather flow out of this area and out of people's basements. We've also made sure that we don't move the problem around. We will not be inducing backups or overflows in any other part of the Elmhurst system. And ultimately, when coupled with the sump pump disconnection program, we will be providing the 25-year storm protection that this project was designed for. The first piece now, the dry weather force main, has had the existing force main has a serious history of breaks. It will be replaced with a 10-inch pipe. It's fairly shallow because this is a pressure pipe. It is not flowing by gravity. It'll be built primarily with open cut construction. We will ensure that parkway trees are protected in the case of ash trees eventually replaced. This project is done with design. It's at Illinois EPA for a permit, and we recently received bids, which are actually on the agenda for this evening. Bids very tight, still indicative of a market where for underground construction, we're continuing to see projects under engineer's estimate. Just quickly, that force main will exit the Sailor and Jackson lift station and head up north on Sailor Avenue. Continuing north through the Madison intersection, there'll be a short directional drilling here across Madison because of major conflicts with storm sewers. Continuing north, and eventually reach McKinley Avenue. It's at McKinley Avenue where there's a large interceptor that in the past has also surcharged and induced basement backups near McKinley Avenue. The difference now is this will only operate under dry weather. But when we get a storm event, this pipe shuts down and the wet weather force main activates to pump that flow directly to the storage tank at the treatment plant. The next piece is the wet weather force main. Operates obviously after a major storm event. It's much larger in diameter, and its routing will continue north on Sailor and eventually to the storage tank at the treatment plant. It's the blue line. Again, it heads north on Sailor, turns the corner at Adams, and then heads due west towards Salt Creek, all the way to the berm. We will be tunneling under the berms, heading north on Berkeley, up to Madison again, heading west on Madison, back over the berm, and to the storage tank. The third piece is that gravity sewer upstream of the treatment of the lift station. We're going to be installing a larger diameter sewer, therefore providing more storage. It will be deeper, therefore reducing the likelihood of basement backups in this area. Again, we exit the Sailor and Jackson lift station. Now we head east, the green line, heading due east all the way to the Bryan intersection. And finally, the storage tank. The storage tank, as I mentioned, will have 2 million gallons of volume. It'll have both automated and manual override for controls. And if you look at how this thing operates, we start with a large storm event. Remember, this facility, to a large extent, is sitting in waiting for a large storm event. It does not operate like the treatment plant or the Sailor and Jackson lift station 365 days a year. So once we get a large storm event and flows rise in the system, then those wet weather pumps activate. The first thing that we do is we actually pump around the tank directly to the treatment plant, maximizing the amount of flow we can get out of the Sailor and Jackson area. Once the treatment plant can no longer handle that flow, then we start to fill the tank. Once the tank is full, then we actually have a tank bypass that we can again get flow to the treatment plant. And then the last thing that would happen, as currently happens, the emergency sanitary overflow pump at the Sailor and Jackson lift station would pump to a storm sewer. So what we're doing after a major storm event is we're getting wet weather flow out of the sanitary sewer system and preventing it from going in people's basements. This storage tank will be a circular concrete tank. It'll be set up with typical equipment so that it can be efficiently maintained. It will have a backup power source for redundancy. And finally, probably the most important component of this program is a major lift station upgrade. This project needs to have redundancy, and it needs to have the ability to ensure operation after a major storm event. Operating 50% of the time after a storm event is not good enough. We need 100%. We have increased the capacity of the existing pumps by 225%. We are going to provide a new control system and an entirely new standby generator. With the history of power outages in Elmhurst, we absolutely have to have full backup power for the entire lift station running at full capacity. We're going to expand the wet well. The wet well is the portion of the pump station that holds the wastewater before the pumps pump it in to the force mains. So by expanding the wet well, we're providing more capacity. We're going to have fiber optic cable to the treatment plant as a backup to the existing radio system for controls. And the new pump controls and standby generators will also provide us with the kind of reliability and redundancy that are absolutely critical to a facility that has to operate after a major storm event. We had some challenges with the final design, and there was limited room to expand laterally. What we ended up with is actually building a wet well immediately to the west of the existing station, making sure, again, it was deeper and it allowed the pumps to activate at a wider range of elevations. When you look at the layout of the new lift station, you're actually going to see a pull-in drive area that's necessary to get a vehicle in there to remove pumps for emergency maintenance. That area will be finished with porous pavers so that we don't aggravate the stormwater flooding problems in the Sailor and Jackson pump station, recognizing that we are adding a small roof to this new wet well and also providing some compensatory storage. So this design is compliant with the city's requirements for stormwater detention. Just to show you where we're at now in the schedule, as I said, we're done studying and are in a position to build this important project. Bids were advertised for the dry weather force main earlier this month. You have on your agenda this evening a approval of the low bidder. Those bids came in almost $200,000 lower than our estimate. Again, an indication that underground construction is still a market that there are a lot of competitors. With committee and council approval, then we can start construction in early October and complete construction in late November. There may be a little bit of surface restoration that would go into next spring. The balance of the project then will be submitted to EPA and the county for permits in October, advertised for bid this fall and bid opening in December. That would allow us to come back in January for council approval. City has also decided to do this project with the use of low-interest loans from the Illinois EPA. Currently, those are a 2% interest rate and a 20-year term, fairly attractive. With final council approval of not only the bids, but also the loan process in February or March, We can start construction then in early spring of 2014 and finish both the lift station and put it in operation by the summer. We would then anticipate substantial completion of the project and final completion later in 2014. At that point, we would have in place then the key component of the project to eliminate and to reduce sanitary sewer backups in South Elmhurst. The redundancy and the reliability that I talked about briefly have come with a cost. And in the final design process, we have increased our pump horsepower. As a result of that, we've had to add a new motor control center. The generator is now larger, so the building is larger. The SCADA communication is upgraded to fiber optic. We've added a channel monster, which basically grinds up debris so it doesn't get clogged in the pumps. We've decided to go with staff discussion with a concrete storage tank, slightly more expensive than steel, but a dramatically longer design life. And the general market conditions that we have seen with pump stations and equipment, we are seeing, despite the economy, increases in those costs. I do believe that we have an opportunity to recover some of this estimated cost increase with the force main part of the project. We saw a $200,000 reduction below our estimate on the dry weather force main. I think there's a high likelihood that we will see that continuing with the wet weather force main and the gravity sewer on Sailor and Jackson. That concludes my brief summary. I'd be glad to answer any questions. Big picture, as I said, we're done studying. We're now at the point where we're ready to construct a very, very important project as a component of dealing with sanitary sewer backups in South Elmhurst.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hollenbeck, and thank you to the Public Works Committee for all the hard work. I know that this is not new to you folks, but it's a good update for the rest of us. Are there any questions at this time? In the interest of time, might I suggest if there is, let me, 1 second, Alderman Kennedy. If there is questions or you think of questions afterwards, certainly you can get them to city staff and they can work with Mr. Hollenbeck and the RJN group to get those answers to you. Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Morley. Al, I want you just to comment about where this project puts us in perspective as it relates to sanitary sewer backups in Southwest Elmhurst and how much this moves the needle, if you will, going forward.
Yeah. I don't know if you recall, but we showed maps a couple of years ago from our preliminary study where many areas of Southwest Elmhurst were subject to basement backups with as little as a 6-month storm, something that happens twice a year. Our design is for a 25-year level of protection. This project, coupled with the sump pump disconnection, will get us to a 25-year level of protection. The Public Works Committee has also, taken up the process now of addressing the sump pump disconnections. Those two together are critical for this to get us to the 25-year level of protection. This project by itself, depending on what neighborhood you are in Southwest Elmhurst, is more like a 5-year level of protection. But again, coupled with the sump pump disconnection, that takes us to another level. And it's a project that is implementable in the timeframes that you see here. And I think as we get deeper into the discussion and the policy issues about the sump pump disconnections, those are likely to take a little bit more time. Whereas this project, we get it built, it's in place, and it is a major contributor to what even the Sanitary Task Force said was the top priority for addressing the problems, the place to start, basically.
Thank you.
Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a question, just a statement, and it's a statement that I've made several times when we talk about this particular project, and I want to make sure the public keeps hearing it, and hopefully the press picks it up. We're doing a lot of things at the Sailor and Jackson lift station that are good things. We're increasing the retention size, we're increasing pump capacity, but none of that will impact that particular area when it comes to overland flooding. Sailor and Jackson, that immediate area, when we get a significant event, tends to flood, overland water. What we're doing at the Sailor and Jackson lift station will not impact that. This is purely sanitary. We're looking at improving the overland flood there through other ways, but I just want to make sure the residents are clear that when we talk about adding pump size and wet weather facilities, it's not going to affect the overland flooding that occurs in that immediate area. In fact, there's a part of that immediate area that's still in a FEMA flood zone. None of this will impact that. I'm going to keep mentioning it because I know there's still a lot of people that like to think there's a flip a switch to pumps. We've got red lights, we've got green lights on that building to indicate that won't impact or affect overland flooding at all.
Thank you, Alderman Healy. Any other comments? Mr. Hollenbeck, I want to thank you for taking the time to come out and see us this evening and keep us up to date. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're looking forward to turning some dirt.
Turning some dirt. Got it. On to agenda item number 4.1, receipt of written communications from the public. At this time, is there anybody in the public who has any petitions or written information they would like distributed to the City Council? If so, please approach Clerk Spencer. Seeing none, we'll go on to the public forum portion of our meeting. Agenda item 5.1. As most are aware, this is an opportunity for members of the audience to speak publicly. You can comment or discuss anything that you feel is appropriate. It doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get an answer tonight. If it's covered on the agenda, you might. We certainly ask that out of respect for others and out of respect for the time we have here, that you keep your comments to under 3 minutes. That time is not transferable, so you can't have 3 people show up and then speak for 9 minutes for one person. But we certainly do encourage public forum. That having been said, Clerk Spencer, is there anybody tonight who has signed up to speak at public forum?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and we'll start with Deanne Mazzocchi, 156 South Sunnyside.
Yes, thank you. It's my understanding that there are several items on the consent agenda. Will the public have an opportunity to comment on some of those items if they are brought up?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your first question.
Will members of the public have the opportunity to comment on any of the consent?
This is your opportunity. And for the microphone, can you state your name and address, please?
Sure. Deanne Mazzocchi, 156 South Sunnyside Avenue.
Great.
In view of the presentation that we've heard this evening, I do know that there are many items on the consent agenda that relate to some of the sewer-related items. There are several of those things that I don't think should be, at this point in time, part of the consent agenda. They should be either tabled or postponed to a later point in time so that further public comment can be made on those. I also understand that there are many people here in the audience who wish to talk about the parking garage issue, and because that is an issue of much dispute in the audience, I think that some of these sewer-related items would be better served being discussed more freely in a later time.
Thank you.
I'm having a hard time reading this. The last name is D-A-I-D, I think? Dade? 657 Edgewood? Is it Donald? Donald Dade? 657 Edgewood.
Mr. Dade? Don't think he's here, Clerk Spencer.
Okay. Tracy Breen, 156 Walnut.
Hi, I am Tracy Breen, 156 Walnut, which is in the First Ward. As you're discussing the Han Street development tonight, I just wanted to say that the members of the First Ward, a large portion of them, would like to see a neighborhood park go in, if possible, on the Addison Street side. I think one of the developers had mentioned something like that. And I'm saying this because back in 2010, a group of First Ward residents got together. We signed a petition with over 200 people in the First Ward that we would like to see a small small neighborhood park go in our area, because we feel we're underserved between the First and North Avenue area as far as parks go. So at that time, I met with Alderman Gutenkopf and the former Alderman Paula Petza, and we brought this petition to the former Park District President, Richard Grodsky. I believe he retired perhaps a few years ago, discussed this with him. He said they would keep it in mind if any land ever became available within the First Ward. He retired, nothing's really come of that. The petition resides with the Park District at this time. I'm sure we could pull it up if we need to, but just to let you know, that's something that the First Ward is very interested in. A lot of families with young children in that area. As well as that, our neighbors have been discussing since the April 18th 2013 storm and flood that affected over 80 homes in our area. We're very concerned about the stormwater and what's going to be done for the mitigation of that in our particular ward. So to the extent this Hahn Street development, I know that's a consideration in it, but we would really like it to be a very strong consideration as you're looking at this development, what it can do to help the problem or at least not cause any further waters to be flooded into our area. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. One moment, please. Clerk Spencer. Did you have 2 sign-up sheets out?
I did for public forum for the council meeting and one for the committee of the whole.
Do we think everybody knew that? I'll
I think
clarify.
it's
Okay, what we're discussing up here is we have a little bit of a unique meeting tonight in that not only do we have a regularly scheduled council meeting, but immediately following our council meeting, we have a committee of the whole. And there was 2 sign-up sheets out there, and you're more than welcome to comment during both this meeting, public forum, and also committee of the whole. But just to clarify, we're having public forum right now, and you're more than welcome to speak on any topic during this meeting. We will then gavel that meeting and start a new meeting of the Committee of the Whole. At that time, we will be discussing the redevelopment of the Addison Street project and also Hahn Street, and there will be an additional public comments at the time. So you're more than welcome to speak at both.
Sorry, I won't say any more. I just have to go relieve the babysitter, so I wasn't aware that there was another meeting. I've said my comments. I'm finished. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
I'm just, if people want to speak at both, they can. If they want to pick one or the other, we're just clarifying. And they were labeled, right?
Yes.
So we know what we're doing here.
They were identified as committee of the whole and council. And we'll go on to Noel Toledo, 153 Clinton.
Good evening. Noel Toledo, 153 Clinton. I'm here tonight on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst. The League of Women Voters of Elmhurst has been an organization in Elmhurst since 1932. We are a nonpartisan organization, and our purpose is to promote democracy through education on issues and voter registration. And some of you may be aware of our Observer Corps, which I represent here and observe the City Council on behalf of the League and publish that to our members and anyone else who's interested on what happens at the council meeting, so you don't have to attend in person if you wouldn't like to. I'm here tonight, though, to just announce some upcoming events. All of our regularly scheduled monthly events are open to the public. You don't have to be a member. You also don't have to be a woman to be in the League. But our next upcoming event is actually this Thursday. It's at the Elmhurst Public Library. And the topic is the demographic shift affecting DuPage County. The speaker will be Candace King from the DuPage Federation on Human Service Reform. So all of our topics are always, I think, very relevant to everyone at a local, state, or federal level, but often we focus locally on the state. Our next event, and that event will be at 7 p.m. at the Elmhurst Public Library. The next event monthly is in October, on October 17th, and our very own city manager, Jim Grabowski, will be there sharing information about the city's flood mitigation program. And that starts at 7 p.m. as well at the Elmhurst Public Library. Thank you.
Thank you.
Claude Pagash, 566 West Gladys.
My name is Claude Poggett, 566 West Gladys. A couple of meetings ago, Finance Committee was proudly announced they had played with some bonds and the city had $3 million it could play with. This evening, the council is asked to vote on $10 million worth of general obligation bonds. Yes, $3 million wasn't enough, it's already spent. What I don't understand is this. In the years I've come here, we talk about general obligation bonds like they're nothing. Last time I checked, the city was kind enough to inform me we're sitting on $60 million worth of general obligation bonds. Another $10 million now. It's a lot of money, isn't it? And then I would remind the council they were good enough to pass an ordinance that said for the TIF 4, we can spend $89 million if we vote for it. That's $160 million. Now, I don't know what crystal ball you guys are looking at, but the papers I read indicate that salaries aren't going up. Now, I don't know how you expect the people of this town to pay for these general obligation bonds, but I wish you'd tell them just how much they do owe. I really do, and just not tell them it's $10 million now. And then, fortunately or unfortunately, the Tribune would have to be running a series of articles about towns that went out and spent a lot of money on general obligation. Those people are paying dearly for what their councils voted for, and the best those councils can say is, it didn't work. So just don't tell the people you're voting on 10 million. Tell them exactly how much you got sitting out there. And don't forget that 89 million. I know what I was promised. We won't touch it. I know you need the money. You always need money. We haven't done anything in this town without a general obligation bond or a grant. But tell the people just how much you're putting them into debt. Don't just tell them it's 10 million. And don't tell them you just did something and gave them 3 million. Because I will go down and find out just how much the town, you guys, have voted in and put my neck on the line. And tell them the truth. All these places aren't TIFs, aren't they? So the resident, he's stuck. And unless you guys got a crystal ball that says they're making more money than the press is rattling off, then one of us is reading the wrong paper.
Okay, Patricia Reginelli, 129 North Pine Street.
Could you read it again, Patty? Oh, sorry, didn't see you there. Go ahead.
Patricia Reginelli, 129 Pine Street. I just wanted to voice my opinion on a few things that have been bothering me, but I haven't been able to get to the city council meeting in a few weeks. I know it's too late to voice an opinion on the rear yard drain issue, but I can't tell you how disappointed those of us on the lower ground streets, particularly Pine Street, are that the alderman voted 13-1 in support of funding for that. After this April's flood, it seemed like the mayor and the alderman understood how the downspouts on the newer homes were surcharging the stormwater pipes and accelerating the flooding in the most vulnerable areas. Though I haven't heard any talk recently about changing the code on that, this vote in support of the rear yard drains may alleviate flooding in the yards of some homes, but it's a vote to put more water in the antiquated storm pipes quickly and efficiently into the homes on the lower ground. I would like to also ask that when you're searching for a public works director to replace Mike Hughes, that you seek out individuals with experience in towns with old infrastructure that have successfully dealt with the flooding situation. And finally, I'm sure there are many people in support of the underpass for the Prairie Path. I don't happen to know anyone personally. I understand bikes crossing there slow down traffic on that street, which is, you know, a lot of congestion because it's only one lane each way. But in terms of safety, there are far more dangerous intersections on the bike trails up north in Glenview and Morton Grove, Skokie, and they don't have underpasses or overpasses up there. While there is a grant for this money, which is taxpayer money, it's not free money, there still would need to be more than $1 million spent on this, and it's a want, it's not a need, and there's so many unmet needs with regards to flooding and storm and sewer problems that it just doesn't seem necessary. Thank you.
Robert Potosi, 915 Hillside.
Good evening, I'm Robert Potosi, 915 Hillside. I have a question, really, when I heard the discussion by Al Hullenberg about the sump pump disconnect, and I'm sorry I haven't been to all of these meetings in the past to really know that or understand exactly what that is, but I know that most of my neighbors have sump pumps, and I'm not sure exactly what that means, but could I get a little clarity about that at this time?
Sir, this is just an opportunity for you to speak to us, but we can certainly have someone from city staff get back to you after the meeting.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Tamara Brenner, 137 North Caroline.
Tamara Brenner, 137 North Caroline. A couple of things from today. First of all, I was pleased to see that the front page or the home page of the city website was used to provide an announcement for the committee of the whole meeting coming up later tonight. I think that was a great use of a news site that should be used more often. That was a great start to improve communications. Secondly, item 7.4 on the consent agenda, which is a central business district parking analysis referral. I know you're not going to be discussing referrals tonight, but I do want to say that I'm glad to see that referral there. I think it's long overdue. When you're talking about building parking garages, you really should know what your current status of parking is. Parking occupancy studies ought to be done. This can be an ongoing process. It's not a one-time thing. The city of Naperville, I understand, has 10 years of data because they've been doing parking analysis yearly. And then you can see what's happening, where changes would be beneficial and where they won't. I also understand, and I don't think that this referral should change the decision timeline or anything for the Addison project, but it can help you going forward regardless of what happens with that project, and it should be moved forward as expediently as possible. And the last thing is the ordinance for the bond approval causes me to connect a few things. I read in an op-ed in one of the local papers over the weekend that still on the TIF 1 development docket is the Addison redevelopment project. This project is geographically located in TIF 1, but my understanding is that it's going to be funded with general obligation bonds, $10 million or $12 million more bonds. So that's not TIF money, that's general obligation bonds, which means that the taxpayers actually have an interest in this project. Under a non-home rule community, you would be required to get taxpayer approval through a referendum, if I understand Illinois law. We're home rule, so you can raise as much money as you want without asking the taxpayers, but the taxpayers are going to be responsible for that money. The process that's happened so far has been heavily weighted towards business interests having an input, much less so towards the public having an input. That problem continues, and I will say more about that at the committee of the whole meeting. Thanks.
And last, we have a former alderman, Michael Regan, 228 Fairfield.
Welcome back, Mr. Regan.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. It's good to be back. Mike Regan, 228 Fairfield, Elmhurst. I can't help but observe and listen that the more things change, the more they stay the same. Seems like what comes around goes around, or maybe just never goes away. I'm here tonight to talk generally with a little bit of specifics about Hahn Street and Addison. I will talk now because I'm assuming the audience will be the same when we get to the committee of the whole. You have an opportunity here. When I was on the dais, we got the Hahn Street property at its inception. It was difficult. Nobody's saying this is easy. But through a confluence of factors, some beyond our control, an unforeseen recession, others that were within our control, that thing lays fallow to this day. You have an opportunity to make a positive change for this town. You have an opportunity to make an imprint on the footprint of this town, especially downtown, that will last for generations. I encourage you not to shirk from this responsibility, but to do so. You were elected, and many of you have heard me say this time and again, to make a positive difference. I encourage you to do so. It's easy to say no. I'm speaking for myself in a way, some frustrations I've had over the years, but I'm also speaking for an enormous number of people that I've talked to in this town. It's easy to say no. And many, many people in this town are tired of their leaders saying no. Leaders find a way to yes, and I encourage you to do so. Everyone wants you to get there. Let's talk about Hahn Street. I will not tell you that I am conversant in all the proposals, but I will tell you something. The citizenry wants action, and they want positive action, and they want vision. Don't be afraid of a variance. Don't be afraid of height. Don't be afraid to go out there and do something that will make a lasting difference. On the Addison corridor, here again we go. Apparently the old adage that size matters really is true in this town. I remember when we were doing the Crescent Street project, if you're going to make it an inch taller, the Republic was going to crumble. Well, I bet you if you put another floor or two on that, we would have had a lot more people downtown putting money into our downtown. Okay, but oh no, that was sacrosanct. You can't make it any taller than the ordinance says it was going to take. Okay, well that's gone. But now we have an opportunity not to perpetuate the problem again. Parking has been a problem here for years. Everybody knows it. You don't need to have, 5,000 reports on this, which we have. Parking's a problem. We have at least 2 parking decks, I believe, that are downtown that were once built too small, and you had to put an addition on them. Don't make the same mistake again. If you ever put an addition on your house, very few people in retrospect say, geez, I wish I made that family room smaller. I really wish I made the rec room smaller. The kitchen should be smaller. Most people go, gosh, we should, when we had the opportunity to do it right, do it the right size. You have a chance to right size this now. Don't be afraid of 6 floors. It's a number. I read that Alderman Levin, I think, the interior designer, exterior designer that he is, says you can make buildings look good. Okay, I bet you that building at the end of Larch, which is a parking garage, people really think that's pretty good looking. We can do even better than that. So don't be afraid of size because it's going to stick out. People say, we got to preserve the integrity of downtown. The integrity of downtown, that's a vast, barren wasteland on Addison, functionally. Okay, what integrity? You have a chance to make the integrity of this town. Don't be afraid just because it might be 5 floors or 6 floors that is over the 4 floors. If you build it, they will come is an expression we've all heard. If you build it, somebody will come. But if you want to attract the quantity and quality of the occupants and the uses you want, build it the right size the first time. Build the 6 floors if that's what you and your reasonable discretion think. Don't shortchange the citizens. Get it right this time. Alderman Leader, as you all know, likes to quote famous people, often when he's wrapping up. I couldn't possibly equal him in his eloquence, but I'm going to quote somebody wrapping up that you all know, those great philosophers, Seals and Crofts. They said that we may never pass this way again. You guys won't pass this way again, okay? I encourage you to exercise leadership. Leadership is composed of common sense, vision, and guts. Don't say no. Find a way to yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes public forum as far as who signed in tonight, but do you want to speak? It looks like there's someone out there that does want to
If there,
speak.
is there anybody in the audience at this time who did not have an opportunity to speak that would like to? Ms. Ubriaco?
I do. My name's Carolyn Ubriaco. I live at 432 Atwater. And I couldn't agree more with just about everything that former Alderman Regan said, except that I would say that I trust you all to do the right thing. And I challenge you to be the leaders that you are, that you were elected to be, to not give us one of these. This is a cookie cutter. This is a cookie cutter that I got at a garage sale for 10 cents, and it's awesome, and I can't wait to make cookies with this. I probably don't need any other cookie cutter. This is sort of an image of the United States, mostly. But, you know, I don't think it's 6 stories. I don't think it's 4 stories. I don't think it's 3 stories that's at issue. Don't give us a cookie cutter. You know, be leaders, challenge yourselves, get out there, and don't give us an 80s style, you know, barracks with a 80s style fountain. Give us something innovative and different, and something that is going to add lasting value for the next 100 years. This is what we're counting on you to do. So I know that you have great resources. I know that the constituents are behind you, and I'm counting on you. Don't give us a cookie cutter. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else at this time in the audience who'd like to take the opportunity? Yes, ma'am, please approach the microphone so we can get you on tape. Do we still use tape? We'll digitally record you. Got it. Okay. Request rescinded. Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move on. Agenda item number 6, 6.1, announcements. Are there any announcements at this time? Anybody on the dais? Alderman Deuter.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make one more reminder for folks who are in the First Ward that they have the opportunity to come tomorrow morning to the library from 10 to 11:30 to offer their comments on the Hahn Street project and the Addison project. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also in the same vein as the town hall meetings that Alderman Deuter mentioned, Alderman Leader and I will be having a town hall for the Ward 2 residents. That will be October 9th at 7:30 p.m. in the Fire Station 1 in the basement. We have a nice large room there that we'll be able to take advantage of. So again, that's October 9th at 7:30. Thank you.
Very good. Any other announcements? Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This coming Saturday, September 21st, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., the Spring Road Business Association will be sponsoring Spring Road Days. There will be plenty of events for kids, fun activities. The businesses along Spring Road will have various events, sales, etc. So I would encourage all the residents, it's supposed to be a pretty nice day, stop by Spring Road between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. this Saturday. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no more hands, we'll move on to consent agenda. Item number 7. Is there anything on the consent agenda that any alderman would like pulled, possibly discussed? Anybody? Alderman Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 7.5, please.
7.5. 7.5. Anyone else? Alderman Levin.
7.4.
7.4. Any other items on the consent agenda that the council wishes to pull to discuss? Seeing none, I'd ask a motion to approve the consent agenda minus items 7.4 and 7.5. Motion to approve by Alderman Deuter, second by Alderman Palomsky. Clerk Spencer.
Deuter.
Aye.
Palomsky.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hipskin.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Honquist.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Gudenkauf.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
14 ayes, 0 nays.
14 ayes, 0 nays. That motion carries. The consent agenda is approved, minus items 7.4 and 7.5. On to item 7.4. Clerk Spencer, could you read the What are we calling this, a referral?
This looks like it's a referral, Mr. Mayor, to the Public Affairs and Safety Committee. It is, that's all I have.
We'll go with that. Good enough for the record. I need a motion and a second to approve moving forward with this. Alderman Wagner with a motion, and I need a second. Alderman Healy. Okay, this is a referral from Alderman Deuter and Alderman Gutenkopf. Typically, we don't discuss the merits of the referral itself, but is there any other comments? Or there's a reason someone pulled it. Alderman Levin.
Well, it seems to me that this ties into our discussion on the Addison Street parking garage, and I'm not against the referral, but I just wanted to ask the question, do we not have staff or consultants that are under contract that provide parking analysis? And this is the first question, and have we done any additional parking analysis? Because if the goal is to, it seems this goes to 2014 in a later grant cycle. Decisions will be made perhaps before this referral comes to fruition. Do we have parking consultants that can advance
Point of order,
this?
Mr. Mayor. We're discussing the merits of the referral, and the committee, that's the committee's responsibility.
I'll allow Alderman Levin to wrap up his comments. Sound like he was wrapping up.
Just one question, that's it.
If I may paraphrase, Alderman Levin, what I heard is, and again, it goes to the appropriateness of the referral. Is a referral necessary, or could city staff do it without a referral? Is that what I heard?
Or could city staff also do it in advance to get analysis done to
So
see
do
what's
it
left
quicker
over?
than sending it to a committee? Okay, so not necessarily an issue with the information, but could city staff be requested to do it quicker and not go through committee? And I will defer to City Manager Grabowski.
We did talk to the consultant, Housel Levine, that we have under contract for the North York TIF. They do have a civil engineer with them, contracted with them, that could do a study like this. We talked to them a little bit to see if there was some capability, and he said that they could do that in short order. Obviously, we'd have to get the points of what we want them to look at, and there's quite a few in the referral as far as that goes.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor? If I-
Yes, Alderman Gutenkopf. Well, Alderman Gutenkopf, you can have the floor.
Perhaps you can give me the floor. I think we're missing sort of the bigger picture about the referral that refers to a much larger analysis. There's a component of this that perhaps our consultant can address immediately, which is duly noted in the referral. I think if we let this pass through, then perhaps the staff the appropriate committee and the committee chair could figure out the best way to approach this. I don't think that it has been our practice to debate the merits of referral at this point in a committee meeting. We pass the referral on, and the staff and the committee chair and the senior staff of the city address it at that point. We don't need to determine right now how we're going to do it. That's kind of the point of the referral.
Okay, well, I think what I heard Alderman Levin say is that the referral might not be necessary if we could direct city staff, and that ultimately that really would be up to Alderman Deuter and Alderman Gutenkopf, but it sounds like, and certainly appropriate to do so, it sounds like you'd prefer if the referral moved on as is to committee. Sounds fine to me. So assuming that's the case.
Point of order.
I'm not objecting to the report.
Hold
I
on,
just had a
hold on.
question. That's
We
all.
have a point of order. Yes, Alderman Bram.
Yeah, I agree with Alderman Gutenkopf. I don't want to speak about the merits of this. I don't think that, if I can maybe paraphrase for Alderman Gutenkopf, I don't think anybody is saying anything about the merits, but what city staff does on their own accord is what city staff does. I think we need to move forward with this referral, stop asking questions about something that's a referral before it actually gets to committee. I don't know the intent of the referral from just reading what was submitted, and things change. So I would prefer no further discussion of this because we shouldn't be discussing a referral until it gets to committee. Neither city staff nor elected officials should be discussing this referral at this point.
Alderman Levin, did you have a comment?
No, I asked my question, and I did not intend to go into the merits of the referral.
Noted. We do have a motion on this, do we not? Clerk Spencer, any other comments? Clerk Spencer.
Let's see, Wagner. Isn't it Wagner and Healy?
Yeah, it was. Aye.
Okay.
No, I believe.
I'm sorry, what?
What's the
Healy?
What's the motion?
To send it.
You know what, Clerk Spencer, let me jump in here.
Okay.
Voice vote to move this on. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Fantastic, looks like it's moving on.
Okay, right. Sounds good to me.
Item 7.5, Clerk Spencer, if you could please read the recommendation. Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Kennedy, before I ask Clerk Spencer.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to ask that we bring this back to committee, not for anything material to the report, but we had some feedback from the building community that they didn't feel that they had enough forewarning that we were discussing this, so we'd like to bring it back to committee and have a public discussion here in an upcoming meeting. Give
Okay.
them the opportunity to come in, provide their feedback and perspective.
Okay, Chairman Kennedy, as courtesy, as always, we allow you to pull that back. So that's pulled back, no need to vote. That's it for the consent agenda, that's it for the items that are pulled. On to reports and recommendations of appointed elected officials. 8.1, Mayor Morley, that's me. Did you have that one item? I'll let you, since you have the details on it. Nothing specific to report except that a lot of the stuff that's going on our agenda right now, including both large developments that we talked about. In addition, I continue to have ongoing communication with our elected officials as it relates to stormwater and the grants we're looking for. So when there's something new to report, I'll let you know. City Manager Grabowski.
Yes, thank you. You should have received an invitation in your mailbox from Brian Berghager at the museum. Next Monday, we have a very special event going on where the Cross family will be making a significant donation to the museum for one of the displays that is going on in the future, so I would encourage you all to attend if possible.
Details, please.
Very good. So
We'll get those details back out to you as soon as we can.
It's 2 o'clock on Monday, I believe. Any other reports or recommendations at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 9. 9.1, an ordinance. Clerk Spencer, if you could please read the ordinance.
An ordinance providing for the issuance of approximately $9,830,000 general obligation bonds, Series 2013, for the purpose of financing various capital improvements, refunding certain outstanding general obligation bonds, and paying the expenses incident thereto, and providing for the levy and collection of a direct tax sufficient for payment of the principal of and interest on said bonds. That made sense.
Okay. I would ask for a motion to approve the ordinance as read. Alderman York with a motion, Alderman Dunn with a second. Alderman York.
Thank you, Your Honor. We've got some good news, so I'm going to ask Barbara Chevalier from Spear Financial, who handled the bond sale today, this morning it occurred. She's going to bring the City Council up to date on the results of the bond sale.
1 minute, please.
I need to ask for
Point of order. Point of order.
Yes.
The rules.
Yeah, sorry.
A motion to suspend the rules. So Alderman Mulliner, second by Alderman Hipskin. Motion is to suspend the rules to allow, I'm sorry, Kevin.
Ms. Chevalier.
Ms. Chevalier to speak. I'd like a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ms. Chevalier, we have suspended the rules for your good news.
Well, thank you very much. I'm Barbara Chevalier with Spear Financial. My colleague Mark Geratina is also here. He's worked on the bond issue. Well, we conducted a sale this morning on your behalf. It was an open, what we call an open auction method, where the bidders could know where their place was, but not what the other bidders were bidding. And it's a very competitive situation. And we had 8 bidders presenting their bids. The winning bid was BOSC Incorporated from Menominee Falls, Wisconsin, and their bid as revised was 1.8851%. Now, there were bidders who were improving their bids over the course of the period of time of the auction, and in doing so, in this competitive situation, the city was able to save an additional $66,000 in interest costs, which I think is good, necessarily good. Before the sale, we went to the rating agency Standard & Poor's and presented the bond issue and the city, and the Standard & Poor's affirmed a AA+ rating for the city, which is an excellent rating. They emphasized in the report, which we've distributed to you ahead of time, the good finances, the good reserve levels, and I think that speaks to your leadership and guidance. The refunding portion, which was the major portion of this bond issue, was giving the city debt service savings of $557,000, I'm just going to round it, dollars over the life of the issue that was being refunded. So I think that's a nice savings for the city. The other part of the bond issue, about 25%, was for new money purposes. So altogether, the city is saving money. The city is well received in the bond markets, highly competitive. You have an excellent rating, and that's about all I have to say about the sale, but I'll entertain any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the good news. Alderman York.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Ms. Chevalier, for that update. As she indicated, it is a win, and I'd like the council and the public to pay attention to pages 8, 9, and 10 of the report, which is the ratings direct from Standard & Poor's, just kind of a summary of the reasons that this bond was looked on so favorably by the bidders. It's because of the financial strength of the city. Items highlighted in there are fund balances and stable income streams and high property values and all these things that cities aspire to. So please take the time to read this, and I'd like to thank city staff and our financial advisors for a job well done. Saved $600,000 at the end of the day. So good job. Thank you.
Any additional comments? Okay, we just received this up on the dais this evening, but we'll put it on board docs.
It's on board docs.
Is it already on board docs?
Yeah, it was posted on board docs.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep.
Check that one off the list. Okay, we need to vote. Any other comments for the motion pending before us for ordinance?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Just one quick question to the board docs thing. The results of this weren't final until later this afternoon.
Yes.
That's the reason for the delay in getting these posted. It went to market about 10 a.m., but then there's a whole process that they go through after the bond is sold to resize everything. So
Really goes out to bid. At the time, we didn't know the numbers.
Yep, that's right. Correct.
Any additional comments? Alderman Hipskin.
And that not knowing is very standard for us and any other municipality.
Okay, any other comments? Alderman Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We just heard that we saved about $560,000, and I just want to clarify that was net of costs. There were some fees associated with that, so the net savings was about $560,000. The major beneficiary of that is actually the library. They were shouldering a lot of this bond debt, and so we were able to go from a 4% to a 1.88% bond, which helped both entities out considerably. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Any other comments, questions? Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Clerk Spencer, could you please call the roll?
York.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Polonsky.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hipskin.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Conquest.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Gutenkopf.
Aye.
Goiter.
Aye.
14 ayes, 0 nays.
14 ayes, 0 nays. That motion passes. The ordinance is approved. On to agenda item number 10, other business. Is there any other business at this time? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Alderman York with a motion, Alderman Deutler with a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We're adjourned. We were quite optimistic in the start time of our committee of the whole. But we're going to take a 5-minute break, allow people to get ready, allow anybody in the audience who may want to move around and/or move out. But we will start our meeting in about 5 minutes. Thank you.